The world was easier in the dark. That's what I told myself every morning when I reached for the white cane by my bed. When I slipped on the dark glasses that hid my perfectly functional eyes. When I stepped out of my apartment and became someone else. Someone invisible, someone harmless, someone not worth watching, someone Nathan Cross couldn't find. It had been 6 months since I'd started this charade. 6 months of navigating New York City with my eyes trained on the ground, never looking up, never making eye contact, never giving anyone a reason to remember my face. 6 months of freedom. Or something close to it. Good morning, Iris. Margot's voice rang out from across the hallway. My elderly neighbor was the only person in the building who still talked to me like I was human. Everyone else had learned to avert their gazes, uncomfortable with disability in that uniquely American way. Good morning, Margot. I kept my voice soft, my movements careful. The cane tapped against the floor as I made my way toward the elevator. Cold one today. Bundle up. I will. Thank you. The elevator doors closed, and I allowed myself a moment of honesty. My reflection stared back at me in the mirrored walls, a woman who'd once danced on stages that made audiences weep, now reduced to shuffling through life with a prop cane and a lie that had become her entire existence. But alive. Still alive, that was more than Nathan had planned for me. The coffee shop was 3 blocks from my apartment, close enough to navigate blind, far enough to feel like an adventure. I'd been coming here for months, always ordering the same thing, medium latte, oat milk, extra shot, always sitting at the same table, back corner, facing the door but not obviously so. The baristas knew me. Felt sorry for me. Gave me my drinks for free half the time, which I hated but couldn't refuse without breaking character. Your usual, Iris. That was Jamie, the morning shift manager. Young, kind, painfully earnest. Please. I handed over my card, deliberately fumbling it. Is my table available? Always. Let me walk you over. I hated this part, being led like a child dependent on someone else's guidance. But it was necessary. Every detail mattered. Every performance had to be perfect because Nathan was still watching. I knew it the way prey knows when a predator is circling. That prickle at the back of my neck. That sense of being observed from somewhere just out of sight. He was still out there, still obsessed, still convinced that we were meant to be together. The restraining order had been worthless. The police had been worse, sympathetic but ultimately powerless against a man who knew how to stay just inside the law. Nathan never touched me. Never threatened me directly. He just existed. In my periphery. In my shadow. In every dark corner of my nightmares. I disappeared, not physically. That was impossible in a city where he had connections at every dance company, every theater, every place I might try to rebuild my career. But visibly. I'd become someone he couldn't use. Someone who couldn't meet his eyes, couldn't see his face in the crowd, couldn't give him the reaction he craved. A blind woman was useless to a man whose entire obsession centered on being seen. Or so I'd hoped. Here you go. Jamie settled me into my chair. Careful, the table's a bit wobbly today. Thank you. I wrapped my hands around my cup and let myself relax, just a fraction. This was my routine. My sanctuary. The 1 hour each day when I could almost pretend I was normal. That's when everything went wrong. The commotion started near the entrance, raised voices. Russian, I thought, though my knowledge of the language was limited to what I'd picked up from old dance instructors. Then English, sharp, angry, threatening. You think you can walk into my territory and I don't think anything. I know. The second voice was ice. Pure, absolute ice. Kind of cold that made you understand why people feared the dark. I kept my head down, my glasses firmly in place. Whatever was happening, it wasn't my business. I was blind. Helpless. Not a threat, but I could see, and what I saw made my blood freeze. 3 men had entered the coffee shop. 2 large, clearly armed, flanking a third who radiated power like a physical force. He was tall, lean but muscular, with hair so blonde it was almost white and eyes the color of a winter sky. Beautiful in the way glaciers are beautiful, devastating and utterly without warmth. Across from them stood 2 other men, darker, rougher, with the look of people who'd made very bad decisions. The shipment was ours, one of the rough men said. We had an agreement. Agreements change. Circumstances change. You should have adapted. The ice-voiced man, the blonde, smiled, and it was the most terrifying thing I'd ever seen. Instead, you came to my city, to my territory, to the place I eat breakfast. We just wanted to talk, then talk. But know that every word you say is being evaluated for its usefulness. He tilted his head. And so far, you've said nothing useful at all. Tension was suffocating. The other customers had fled. I'd heard the scramble of feet, the jingle of the door. But I couldn't move. Couldn't draw attention to myself. Couldn't do anything but sit very still and pray they didn't notice me. They noticed me. There's a woman, one of the rough men said suddenly. A witness. The blonde's gaze swept toward my corner. I felt it like a physical touch, cold, assessing, missing nothing. She's blind. His voice was dismissive. Look at her. White cane. Dark glasses. She can't see anything. How do you know she's really blind? 'Cause I know everything that happens in my territory, including the blind music teacher who moved into the neighborhood 6 months ago. He paused. She's harmless. I kept my face carefully blank. My heart was hammering so hard I was sure they could hear it. We should take her anyway. Insurance. You should focus on the conversation at hand. The ice in the blonde's voice hardened. Unless you'd like me to demonstrate what happens to people who waste my time. What happened next was fast and brutal. That I heard the sounds, grunts, impacts, the crack of bone. I didn't look up. Didn't move. Just sat perfectly still while violence erupted 3 feet away from me. When it was over, there was silence, then footsteps. Coming closer. Mississippi. The ice voice right beside me now. Are you all right? I don't know what happened. I let my voice tremble. I heard noises. Is everything okay? Everything is fine. There was a small disagreement. It's been resolved. A pause. May I? A hand touched my elbow, gentle, guiding. I let him help me to my feet, keeping my eyes trained on nothing. Victor will walk you home. To ensure your safety. That's not necessary. It is. His voice brooked no argument. The streets aren't safe today. Thank you. I fumbled for my cane. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Alexei. Another pause, longer this time. Alexei Volkov. The name meant nothing to me, but the way the room seemed to hold its breath at the sound of it told me everything I needed to know. That I just stumbled into the territory of someone very, very dangerous. Victor walked me home in silence. He was enormous, easily 6'4", built like a tank, with a face that suggested smiling was a foreign concept. But his grip on my elbow was careful, almost tender. You live here? He stopped outside my building. 3rd floor. Apartment 3C. I'll remember. Sounded like a threat. It probably was. Thank you for walking me, I said. Please tell Mr. Volkov I appreciate his concern. He'll be pleased to hear it. I made my way inside, counting steps, tapping my cane, maintaining the performance until I was safely behind my locked door. Then I collapsed against the wall and let myself breathe. That was close. Too close. I'd almost been caught in something I didn't understand, almost been taken by men who would have had no use for my disability. Once they discovered it was fake. I was still shaking when my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I hope you made it home safely. Amy blood went cold. I hadn't given Victor my number. Hadn't given him anything except my address, which he'd apparently already known. How much did Alexei Volkov know about me? Before I could spiral further, another text arrived. The coffee shop will be closed for renovations for the next few days. I recommend finding a new morning routine. And then a third, somewhere safer. For a woman who can see more than she pretends to. The phone slipped from my fingers. He knew. Alexei Volkov knew I wasn't blind. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the building made me jump. Every shadow seemed to hold a threat. I'd spent 6 months constructing this lie, building a fortress of feigned helplessness around myself. And in one morning, a stranger had seen through everything. How? What had I done wrong? I replayed the coffee shop scene in my mind, searching for the moment I'd slipped. The flinch when the violence started? The way I'd turned towards sounds a truly blind person wouldn't have located so quickly? Or something smaller, a glance, a reaction, a tell I wasn't even aware of. It didn't matter. What mattered was that he knew, and now I had to figure out what he planned to do with that knowledge. The next morning, against every instinct screaming at me to hide, I went to the address he'd texted me at 3 a.m. If you want to understand what's happening, come to the Blind Tiger. 10 a.m. Come alone. The Blind Tiger turned out to be a speakeasy-style bar in a neighborhood I'd normally avoid. Not dangerous exactly, but expensive in a way that made my teacher's salary feel particularly inadequate. The irony of the name wasn't lost on me. The door was unlocked. Inside, the bar was empty except for one man sitting at the counter, backlit by bottles of expensive liquor. Alexei Volkov. "Close the door," he said without turning around. "And take off the glasses. They're insulting to both of us." I hesitated. "I know you can see me, Iris." He turned now, those ice blue eyes pinning me in place. "I've known since the moment you walked into that coffee shop 6 months ago." "That's impossible." "Is it?" He gestured to the stool beside him. "Sit. We have things to discuss." I sat. What choice did I have? "How?" I asked. "How did you know?" "Your cane technique was perfect." "Too perfect." People who've been blind from birth develop natural rhythms. People who lose their sight later adapt in inconsistent ways. But you moved like someone who'd studied blindness. Choreographed it. He smiled slightly. "You were a dancer, weren't you?" "Before." "You researched me." "I research everyone in my territory. Especially people who are pretending to be something they're not." He poured 2 glasses of something amber. "The question isn't how I knew. The question is why you're hiding." "That's none of your business." "Everything in my territory is my business." He slid a glass toward me. "Drink. It will help with the nerves." "I'm not nervous." "Your hands are shaking." He lifted his own glass. "Drink. And then tell me about Nathan Cross." The name hit me like a physical blow. "How do you know about Nathan?" "I told you. I know everything." His eyes held mine without blinking. "I know he was your dance partner for 3 years. I know he became obsessed with you after you ended your professional relationship. I know you filed 4 restraining orders, all of which he violated without consequence. And I know that 6 months ago you stopped being Iris Monroe and started being a blind woman with no past and no future. If you know all that, why are you asking?" "Because I want to hear it from you." He set down his glass. "I want to understand why a woman with your talent, your potential, would choose to disappear rather than fight." "You don't know anything about fighting." "Don't I?" Something cold flickered in his eyes. "I've been fighting since I was old enough to hold a weapon. Fighting to survive. Fighting to build. Fighting to protect what's mine." He leaned closer. "What I've never done is hide. So explain it to me. Make me understand why you chose darkness over light." The words spilled out before I could stop them. I told him everything, not because I trusted him, I didn't, but because something in those ice blue eyes demanded honesty. Because I was tired of carrying this alone. Because for the first time in 6 months, someone was looking at me like I was a person instead of a victim. "Nathan and I danced together for 3 years," I began. "He was brilliant, technically perfect, emotionally intense. Everyone said we were the perfect partnership, that our chemistry translated into art. But Nathan didn't understand the difference between performance and reality. On stage, we were lovers. Off stage, I was just his colleague. His friend." I stared into my untouched glass. He couldn't accept that. Started believing that I was hiding my feelings. that I secretly loved him but was too afraid to admit it. When did it escalate? Gradually. Small things at first, showing up at my apartment uninvited, calling 20 times a day, leaving notes in my dressing room. Then bigger things, following me on dates, threatening men who showed interest in me, telling everyone in our company that we were together. And the restraining orders, paper shields. My voice was bitter. He'd violate them, I'd call the police, they'd give him a warning, and the cycle would continue. He knew exactly how far he could push without facing real consequences. So you disappeared. I tried running first. Changed apartments. Changed jobs. Changed cities. He found me every time. I finally met Alexei's eyes. The last time, he cornered me in a parking garage. Told me that if I ran again, he'd make sure I never danced anywhere. That he'd destroy my career, my reputation, everything I'd built. That's when you chose blindness. That's when I realized I couldn't outrun him. Couldn't hide from him. The only thing I could do was become someone he couldn't use. My hands tightened around the glass. Nathan's obsession was never about me. It was about being seen. About having someone witness his brilliance, reflect his greatness back at him. A blind woman couldn't do that. I became worthless to him. Did it work? Partially. He stopped following me constantly. Stopped calling every day. But he didn't disappear completely. I took a shaky breath. He watches from a distance now. Checking on me. Making sure I stay blind, stay helpless, stay alone. And you've accepted that? Living half a life because a broken man can't let go. What choice do I have? The police won't help. The courts won't help. I can't afford private security or lawyers or any of the things that might actually make a difference. I laughed bitterly. So yes, I've accepted that this is my life now. At least I'm alive. Alexei was quiet for a long moment, then he stood, moving to the window, his silhouette sharp against the gray morning light. What if I told you there was another way? What do you mean? I mean that men like Nathan Cross operate because they believe there are no consequences. They push boundaries because no one pushes back. He turned to face me. But I push back, Iris. It's what I do. You're offering to help me? Why? You don't even know me. I know enough. His eyes held mine. I know you're brave enough to build an entirely new identity to protect yourself. I know you're smart enough to maintain that identity for 6 months without slipping. And I know you're desperate enough to walk into a stranger's bar based on an anonymous text. That makes me stupid, not brave. That makes you someone who's run out of options. He moved closer. I'm offering you a new option. At what cost? Men like you don't help people for free. Men like me? A ghost of a smile crossed his face. You're not wrong. I do expect something in return. What? Information. You spent years in the dance world. You know people, wealthy patrons, influential sponsors, the kind of socialites who attend galas and write checks. He paused. Some of those people are useful to me. Others are problematic. I need someone who can navigate that world. Someone who understands its rules. You want me to spy for you? I want you to observe. To attend events as yourself, not a blind woman but the talented dancer you used to be. To be my eyes in rooms I can't enter. And in exchange, Nathan Cross becomes my problem instead of yours. His voice hardened. I'll make sure he understands that pursuing you has consequences. Real consequences. The kind that don't require restraining orders or sympathetic judges. I stared at him, trying to process what he was offering. Protection. Real protection. The thing I'd been dreaming of for 2 years. All I had to do was sell my soul to a Russian crime lord. What if I refuse? Then you walk out that door and continue living your half-life. I won't stop you. He shrugged. But Nathan will still be out there. Still watching. Still waiting for the moment you slip. And if I accept, then we have an arrangement. You help me with information. I help you with your problem. When Nathan is no longer a threat, our arrangement ends. He extended his hand. Simple. Clean. Beneficial to both parties. I looked at his hand. At the future it represented dangerous, yes, but also free. For the first time in years, genuinely free. How do I know I can trust you? You don't. But you can trust that I keep my word. Ask anyone in my organization, anyone who's ever dealt with me. Alexei Volkov doesn't lie. Doesn't break promises. Doesn't waste time on games. What if Nathan is more than you can handle? Then I'm not the man I think I am. His smile was cold. But I promise you, Iris Monroe, I am exactly the man I think I am. I took his hand, his grip was firm. Warm despite the ice in his eyes. Welcome to my world, he said. I hope I survive it. So do I. Something flickered in his expression, almost like amusement. It would be a waste to lose you now. The transformation began that afternoon. Alexei's people were efficient. Within hours, they'd collected my belongings from my apartment, settled my lease, and installed me in a guest suite at his penthouse. The space was larger than my entire old apartment, decorated in shades of white and gray that matched its owner's aesthetic. This is temporary, he explained, giving me a tour, until we assess the threat level and establish appropriate security. You mean until you decide whether keeping me is worth the trouble? I already know keeping you is worth the trouble. What I don't know is how much trouble Nathan Cross is willing to cause. He's obsessive. Possessive. He won't accept losing me gracefully. Good. Alexei's smile was predatory. I prefer opponents who fight. It makes the victory more satisfying. This isn't a game. Everything is a game. The only question is whether you're a player or a piece. He stopped at the door to his study. Tomorrow, Victor will begin your security training. Not because I doubt your intelligence, but because you need to understand how we operate. Our signals. Our protocols. And after that, we reintroduce Iris Monroe to the world. His eyes swept over me. No more dark glasses. No more white cane. No more hiding. Nathan will find out immediately. That's the point. When he discovers that his blind victim has miraculously recovered her sight, he'll investigate. And when he investigates, he'll discover that she's under my protection. Alexei moved closer. Men like Nathan operate on the assumption that their victims are alone, that no one will defend them, that they can push without consequences. I intend to prove him wrong by using me as bait, by using you as a statement, a declaration that what's mine is protected, that crossing me as costs. He tilted his head. Does that bother you? Should it? Most people would be uncomfortable being claimed as property. Most people haven't spent 2 years being stalked by a man who already considered them property. I met his eyes without flinching. At least you're honest about your expectations. At least you're offering something in return. Something shifted in his expression, surprise, maybe, or reassessment. You continue to be unexpected, Iris Monroe. Is that a problem? It's a complication. But he was almost smiling. I find I don't mind complications as much as I thought. The first week was education. Victor taught me about Alexei's organization, its structure, its rules, its methods. I learned about territory and respect, about favors owed and debts collected, about the delicate balance of power that kept the city's underworld functioning. I also learned about Alexei himself. He was 34. Born in Moscow, raised in Brooklyn after his family immigrated when he was 12. His father had been a soldier in one of the old Soviet crime syndicates. His mother had died when he was young. He had one brother, Dmitry, who handled the organization's legitimate businesses while Alexei managed the rest. He doesn't talk about himself, I observed to Victor one evening. The boss doesn't talk about anything except business. But he talks to me. Sometimes. Victor's expression shifted almost imperceptibly. He talks to you more than anyone. That's unusual. Why? 'Cause Alexei Volkov doesn't form attachments. He's not cruel, not to his own people, but he keeps distance. Always. Victor studied me. With you, the distance seems shorter. I'm just an asset. A useful tool. Are you? Victor almost smiled. I've worked for him for 15 years. I know what assets look like. You're something else. Before I could ask what he meant, Alexei appeared in the doorway. Am I interrupting? Just finishing today's lesson. Victor stood. She's a quick learner. I expected nothing less. Alexei's eyes found mine. We have dinner reservations tonight. A social event, one of the charity galas you'll be observing for me. Already? Nathan discovered your address change this morning. He's been making inquiries. Alexei's voice was ice. It's time to show him exactly what he's dealing with. He knows I'm with you. He knows you're under someone's protection. He doesn't know whose. Cold smile crossed his face. Tonight we clarify. The gala was held at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. 500 guests in designer gowns and tailored tuxedos, mingling among ancient sculptures and priceless paintings. The kind of event I'd attended dozens of times during my dancing career, but always as entertainment, never as a guest. Tonight was different. The dress Alexei had provided was silver silk that draped like water, revealing and concealing in equal measure. My hair was swept up, my makeup subtle but flawless. I looked like someone who belonged here. Someone who'd never hidden in darkness, never pretended to be less than she was. Nervous? Alexei asked as we climbed the museum steps. Terrified. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. He offered his arm. Stay close. Watch. Remember what we discussed. Observe but don't engage. Listen but don't respond. Be visible but not memorable. Perfect. His hand covered mine briefly. And Iris? Yes. Try to enjoy yourself. It's been a long time since you were allowed to exist in public. Something almost soft flickered in his eyes. You deserve one night of freedom before the real work begins. We entered together, and the crowd parted around us like water around a stone. People noticed Alexei, of course they did. Noticed me on his arm. Wondered who I was, why I mattered, what I represented. For the first time in 6 months, I was visible, and it felt like breathing after years underwater. I saw Nathan an hour into the evening. He was standing near the bar, dressed in a tuxedo that I recognized from our competition days, watching me with an expression I couldn't read. Shock, maybe. Or fury. Or something worse. I didn't flinch. Didn't look away. Just held his gaze for a long, deliberate moment before turning back to Alexei's conversation. He's here, I murmured. I know. Third pillar from the left, nursing a drink he's been holding for 20 minutes. Alexei's hand found the small of my back. Don't engage. Let him come to us. What if he makes a scene? Then Victor handles it. But he won't. Not tonight. He's too confused, too off balance. Cold smile. He expected a broken woman hiding in darkness. Instead, he found someone radiant on the arm of a man who could end him without effort. You're enjoying this. I'm enjoying watching him realize that the game has changed. Alexei pulled me slightly closer. And I'm enjoying being seen with someone worth seeing. The words sent heat through my chest. Unexpected, unwanted, dangerous. This was an arrangement. A business deal. Nothing more, but when Alexei looked at me like that, it was hard to remember the terms. Nathan approached just as we were leaving. Iris. His voice was the same, smooth, controlled, with an undercurrent of possession that made my skin crawl. You look different. Nathan. I kept my voice neutral. I'm surprised to see you here. Are you? I've been worried about you. Heard some concerning things about your living situation. His eyes slid to Alexei. New friend? Alexei Volkov. Alexei extended his hand with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. And you are? Nathan Cross. Iris and I are old partners. I've heard the name. Alexei's grip tightened visibly. The dancer. The one who couldn't accept that the partnership had ended. Nathan's expression flickered. I don't know what she's told you. She's told me enough. And I've learned more through my own channels. Alexei released his hand. What I want you to understand, Mr. Cross, is that Iris is no longer alone. Whatever you thought you could get away with before, the following, the harassment, the constant pressure, that ends now. Is that a threat? It's information. What you do with it determines what comes next. Alexei placed his hand on my back. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We walked away and I felt Nathan's eyes burning into my back. That was dangerous, I whispered. That was necessary. Alexei guided me toward the exit. He needed to understand the new reality. Now he does. He won't back down. I'm counting on it. Alexei's smile was cold. Men like Nathan don't respond to warnings. They respond to consequences. When he makes his next move, and he will, we'll be ready. And if he hurts someone before then, he won't. Alexei's voice was absolute. Because from this moment forward, you're not leaving my sight. The words should have felt like a cage. Instead, they felt like safety, and that terrified me more than Nathan ever had. The next 2 weeks settled into a strange rhythm. Mornings were spent with Victor, learning security protocols and self-defense basics. Afternoons were dedicated to research, studying the social networks Alexei needed me to navigate, memorizing names and faces and connections. Evenings were events, galas, charity dinners, art openings, where I played the role of Alexei Volkov's mysterious companion, and nights were the hardest. You're not sleeping. Alexei's voice cut through the darkness of the kitchen where I'd been standing, staring at nothing for the past 20 minutes. I didn't hear you come in. You wouldn't. I'm good at being quiet. He moved to the counter, pouring 2 glasses of water. Nightmares? Something like that. He handed me a glass. Our fingers brushed, and I felt the contact like electricity. Tell me. It's nothing. Just old fears. Old fears don't keep someone awake at 3 a.m. He leaned against the counter, watching me with those ice-blue eyes. Talk to me, Iris. Why do you care? 'Cause you're under my protection. Your well-being is my responsibility. Is that all? The question hung between us, heavy with implications neither of us wanted to address. What else would it be? His voice was carefully neutral. I don't know. Sometimes the way you look at me. I shook my head. Never mind. I'm tired. I'm imagining things. What do you imagine? I should have walked away. Should have retreated to the safety of my room and the distance we'd both been maintaining. Instead, I told him the truth. I imagine that you see me. Not the asset. Not the arrangement. Just me. I laughed softly. Which is ridiculous because you've made it very clear what this is. Alexei was quiet for a long moment, then he set down his glass and moved closer, close enough that I could smell his cologne, feel the heat radiating from his body. You're not imagining things. His voice was low, rough. I do see you. I've seen you since the moment you walked into that coffee shop, pretending to be something you weren't. Alexei, don't. His hand found my cheek, tilting my face up to his. Don't remind me why this is a bad idea. I know all the reasons. I've been reciting them to myself every night for 2 weeks. Then why are you here? Because I heard you moving around and I couldn't stay away. His thumb traced my cheekbone. Because every time I tell myself to keep distance, I find myself moving closer. Because you've gotten under my skin in ways I don't understand and can't control. That sounds like a problem. It is a problem. A significant one. But he didn't move away. I don't form attachments, Iris. I learned a long time ago that caring about people makes you vulnerable. It creates weaknesses that enemies can exploit. So I'm a weakness. You're a complication. His lips curved slightly. I told you, I find I don't mind complications as much as I thought. What happens now? Now. His eyes searched mine. Now I do something I'll probably regret. He kissed me. It wasn't gentle or tentative. It was hungry, the kiss of a man who'd been denying himself something he wanted. His hands tangled in my hair, pulling me closer, and I responded with equal intensity, months of fear and loneliness dissolving into the heat of the moment. When we finally separated, we were both breathing hard. That was, I started, a mistake. His voice was rough, but one I'd make again. What does this mean? For our arrangement, means nothing has to change. Unless you want it to. He stepped back, creating distance that felt physical painful. I won't pressure you. Won't use this against you. If you want to pretend it never happened, I don't. The words came out before I could stop them. I don't want to pretend. Something shifted in his expression, surprise, maybe, or relief. Then we figure this out. Together. He reached for my hand, his grip warm and steady. But carefully. There are people who would use any attachment against me. Against us. Nathan. And others. His jaw tightened. Which is why, for now, this stays between us. In public, we maintain the existing dynamic. In private, we see where this goes. His thumb traced circles on my palm. Is that acceptable? I looked at him, this dangerous, complicated man who'd somehow become the safest thing in my life. It's more than acceptable. The escalation came 3 days later. I was returning from a morning run, one of the small freedoms Alexei had insisted on, with Victor trailing at a discreet distance, when I found the package outside the penthouse door. A single white rose. No card. No note. Just the flower, pristine and perfect and absolutely terrifying. Don't touch it. Victor was beside me instantly, phone already in hand. Boss, we have a situation. Alexei appeared within minutes, his expression carved from ice. Where did it come from? Building security shows no unauthorized access. Someone on staff or someone very skilled. Victor's voice was grim. Either way, a breach. Nathan. I couldn't stop staring at the rose. White roses were his signature. He used to leave them in my dressing room after every performance. He's sending a message. Alexei's voice was deadly calm. Proving he can reach you despite my protection. Can he? He reached a hallway. That's not the same as reaching you. But I heard the undercurrent of fury. Victor, increased security. Double the perimeter teams. No one enters this building without 3 levels of verification. Already on it. When Victor left, Alexei turned to me. His expression was controlled, but I could see the storm beneath. This changes things. I know. I underestimated him. Assumed he'd make direct moves, obvious ones. Instead, he's proving he can bypass my defenses. His hands clenched. That won't happen again. What are you going to do? Whatever's necessary. He moved closer, his hands finding my shoulders. But first, I need you to understand something. This escalation, it's because of me. 'Cause I threatened him publicly, challenged his sense of control. If you want to end our arrangement, no. Iris, no. I gripped his arms. I spent 2 years being terrorized by Nathan Cross. Running. Hiding. Diminishing myself to survive. I'm not doing that anymore. My voice strengthened. If he wants a war, let him have one. But I'm not retreating. Something flickered in Alexei's eyes. Admiration, maybe, or recognition. You continue to surprise me. Is that still a complication? It's become something else entirely. He kissed my forehead. Stay close today. I have some arrangements to make. What kind of arrangements? The kind that will remind Nathan Cross why people fear the Volkov name. The counterstrike came that evening. I wasn't privy to the details. Alexei kept that part of his world deliberately separate from me, but I saw the aftermath. The satisfied looks exchanged between Victor and the other security personnel. The phone calls Alexei took in his study, speaking Russian too rapid for me to follow. What did you do? I asked when he finally emerged. Sent a message. What kind of message? The kind Nathan will understand. He poured himself a drink. His apartment was visited while he was at rehearsal. Nothing taken. Nothing damaged. But everything moved just slightly. Enough for him to know someone was there. Someone who could have done much worse. You invaded his space. I demonstrated capability. There's a difference. He met my eyes. He showed he could reach you. I showed I could reach him. Now we wait to see who blinks. And if he doesn't blink, then escalation continues until one of us is eliminated. His voice was flat. I've played this game before, Iris. I know how it ends. How does it end? Decisively. I should have been horrified. Should have questioned the morality of responding to intimidation with counter-intimidation, of fighting darkness with darkness. Instead, I felt something unexpected. Hope. For the first time in 2 years, someone was fighting back. Someone was making Nathan afraid instead of the other way around. Thank you, I said quietly. Don't thank me yet. This is just the beginning. But his expression softened. How are you feeling? Strangely calm. I should be terrified. Fear will come later. Right now, you're running on adrenaline. He set down his glass. When it crashes, I'll be here. Promise. Promise. The crash came at midnight. I was in bed, staring at the ceiling, when the full weight of everything descended. The rose, the threat, the escalating violence, the knowledge that Nathan would never stop, could never stop, that this would only end with one of us destroyed. The tears came without warning. I didn't hear Alexei enter. Just suddenly felt the bed dip beside me, felt his arms wrap around me, pulling me against his chest. Breathe. His voice was steady. Just breathe. I'm sorry. I said I wouldn't retreat. I said I was ready to fight. Fighting doesn't mean not feeling. It means feeling everything and choosing to stand anyway. His hand stroked my hair. Cry. Rage. Fall apart. And then tomorrow we rebuild. You make it sound simple. It's not simple. But it's possible. With the right support. He kissed the top of my head. You're not alone anymore, Iris. Whatever happens, you face it with me. I clung to him, this dangerous man who'd somehow become my sanctuary. This Ice King who held me like I was precious. Why? I whispered. Why do you care so much? Because you showed me something I'd forgotten. What? That strength and vulnerability can coexist. That hiding what you feel isn't the same as being in control. His voice was rough. I've spent my whole life building walls. You walked through them like they weren't there. I didn't mean to. I know. That's what makes it real. He tilted my face up to his. I don't know what this is, Iris. I don't know where it leads. But I know I'm not willing to let it go. Neither am I. He kissed me, soft this time, tender in a way that made my heart ache. Sleep, he murmured against my lips. I'll watch over you. You can't stay awake all night. I've done it for less important reasons. He settled against the headboard, pulling me closer. Close your eyes. I've got you. And somehow, despite everything I believed him, the real attack came a week later, not against me, against someone I'd thought was safe. Margot's in the hospital. Victor delivered the news like a soldier reporting casualties. She was attacked leaving her building this morning. Broken arm. Concussion. She's stable but shaken. My blood turned to ice. Margot? My neighbor Margot? The 70-year-old woman who brings me cookies? Nathan was seen in the area an hour before the attack. Nothing conclusive, but it was him. My voice was hollow. He couldn't get to me, so he went after someone I care about. It appears that way. I turned to Alexei, who'd been silent throughout the report. His expression was carved from stone, but I could see the fury beneath, a cold, controlled rage that was somehow more terrifying than any explosion would have been. This is my fault. The words tasted like ash. I brought her into this. She was kind to me, and you didn't do this. Nathan did. Alexei's voice cut through my spiral. Don't give him the satisfaction of accepting blame for his cruelty. But if you hadn't what? Existed? Had a neighbor who showed you kindness? He moved to stand before me. Nathan is responsible for his actions. Only Nathan. And now Nathan will face consequences. What kind of consequences? The final kind. His eyes held mine. I've been patient, measured, playing by rules that clearly don't apply to him. That ends now. Alexei, if you do something extreme, I'll do what's necessary. What I should have done from the beginning. Cupped my face. I won't let anyone else get hurt because I was trying to maintain appearances. What about the police? If there's evidence linking Nathan to the attack, the police have had 2 years to deal with Nathan Cross. They've failed consistently. His voice hardened. This requires a different approach. You're talking about killing him. I'm talking about ending a threat. Permanently. He didn't flinch from the words. Does that change things? Between us. I looked at him, this man who was offering to become a murderer for me. To cross a line that couldn't be uncrossed. To carry that weight so I wouldn't have to. I don't want you to do this, I said carefully. Not because I think Nathan deserves mercy, but because I don't want his death on your conscience. My conscience has carried heavier burdens. That doesn't mean it should carry this one. I gripped his hands. There has to be another way. Something that stops him without destroying a piece of you. Some people can't be stopped any other way. Then let's prove that first. Exhaust every option before we reach the final one. My eyes pleaded with his. Please, Alexei. For me. Give me time to find another solution. He was quiet for a long moment. 1 week. His voice was reluctant. You have 1 week to find an alternative. If Nathan makes another move before then, any move, the decision is made. That's fair. It's more than fair. It's dangerous. He pulled me into his arms. I hope you know what you're asking. I do. I pressed my face against his chest. I'm asking you to be better than he is. To win without becoming the monster he's made you fight. And if I can't, then at least we'll know we tried. I had 1 week to save Nathan's life, not because he deserved saving, he didn't, but because I couldn't let Alexei become a killer for me. Couldn't let his hands be stained with blood that would haunt him forever, so I did what I'd spent years learning to do. I watched. I listened. I looked for weaknesses. You're planning something, Alexei observed on the 3rd day, finding me surrounded by papers in his study. I'm researching. Researching what? Nathan's history. His finances. His connections. I looked up at him. Everyone has leverage points. Pressure that can be applied without violence. I just need to find his. And if there aren't any, there are always some. Nathan isn't a mastermind. He's an obsessive with resources. That means he's made mistakes, left trails, created enemies. Alexei moved closer, examining the papers spread across the desk. You've been thorough. I had a good teacher. I managed a small smile. You told me to observe, to look for what people hide. I'm applying those lessons. To save the man who's been terrorizing you. To find an alternative to murder. I met his eyes. I know you think I'm being naive, that some problems only have violent solutions. But I've spent 2 years learning everything about Nathan Cross. Let me use that knowledge for something other than fear. Alexei was quiet for a moment. Then he sat across from me, pulling one of the files closer. What have you found? His financial situation is precarious. The dance company has been losing money for years, poor management, declining attendance. Nathan's been covering the deficit with personal funds, but those are running out. So he's desperate financially. That explains the obsession. You represent something he's losing control of. There's more. I pulled out another folder. 3 years ago, Nathan was accused of inappropriate behavior by a younger dancer. The accusation was withdrawn after a settlement, but the records exist. Blackmail material. Leverage material. If we can find the original accuser, convince her to come forward again. She withdrew once. Why would she risk herself again? 'Cause last time she was alone. This time she wouldn't be. I leaned forward. Nathan's pattern isn't unique to me. Men like him don't have one victim, they have many. If we can find the others, create a united front, you want to build a coalition against him. I want to expose him. Publicly. Completely. Make it impossible for him to hide behind respectability and reputation. My voice strengthened. Violence ends one threat. Exposure ends the pattern. Alexei studied me with an expression I couldn't quite read. You've given this considerable thought. I've given it everything. Because the alternative is watching you become something you're not. I reached for his hand. You're not a murderer, Alexei. You're a businessman who operates in a violent world. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. The difference is choice. You can choose not to kill Nathan. You can choose to let the system, broken as it is, finally do its job. I squeezed his hand. Let me try. Please. You have 4 more days. But his voice had softened. What do you need from me? Resources. You're investigators. Someone who can track down Nathan's other victims and convince them to talk. Done. He stood but didn't release my hand. And Iris? Yes. If this doesn't work, if he makes another move before your week is up, I won't ask permission. I won't give warnings. His eyes held mine. Understand? I understand. Good. He kissed my forehead. Now show me what else you found. The breakthrough came on day 5. Her name was Sophie Chen, a dancer who'd worked with Nathan 7 years ago before I'd even joined the company. She'd filed a complaint, then withdrawn it, then disappeared from the dance world entirely. Victor found her in Queens, teaching children's ballet at a community center. When I approached her after class, she looked at me like I was a ghost. You're Iris Monroe. You know me? Everyone in dance knows you. You were Nathan's partner. Her expression shuddered. What do you want? To talk. About Nathan. About what he did to you. I have nothing to say. Sophie, please. I stepped closer. I know what he's like. I've spent 2 years being stalked by him. Being terrorized. I know about the settlement, the withdrawal, all of it. But it doesn't have to stay buried. Yes, it does. Her voice was sharp. I have a life now. Students who depend on me. I can't. He attacked an elderly woman last week. A 70-year-old who had nothing to do with any of this. My voice broke. He's escalating. If we don't stop him, someone is going to die. Maybe me. But maybe someone else he decides to target. Sophie's face went pale. He attacked someone, broke her arm, gave her a concussion. Because she was kind to me. I met her eyes. How many more people have to get hurt before we do something? I can't. The settlement was coerced. We both know that. He used his position, his connections to silence you. I took her hand. But you're not alone anymore. I have resources now. Protection. People who can keep you safe while you tell your story. What people? People who Nathan Cross can't touch, can't threaten, can't intimidate. I thought of Alexei. People who've been waiting for a reason to bring him down. Sophie was quiet for a long time. I watched her face, the fear, the anger, the exhausted resignation of someone who'd been carrying a weight for too long. There are others, she said finally. Women Nathan targeted over the years. Some left the industry. Some stayed and suffered in silence. But we talk sometimes. Support each other. How many? 7 that I know of. Maybe more. 7. 7 women who'd been terrorized by the same man who'd been terrorizing me. Would they be willing to come forward? Together? I don't know. Some have moved on. Built new lives. They might not want to ask them. Please. I gripped her hands. Tell them they're not alone. Tell them that together we can finally make him pay. Sophie looked at me, really looked, and something shifted in her expression. You're different than I expected. The press always made you seem so fragile. Press didn't know me. Neither did Nathan, really. I smiled slightly. I'm stronger than I look. You'd have to be. To survive him. She took a breath. I'll make some calls. But I'm not promising anything. That's all I'm asking. By day 6, I had 5 confirmations. 5 women willing to go public with their stories. 5 voices that had been silenced, finally ready to speak. It's not enough for criminal charges, Victor reported. The statute of limitations has expired on most of the incidents. But civil action, it's not about legal consequences. I looked at Alexei across the conference table. It's about exposure. About making it impossible for Nathan to hide behind his reputation. A press conference. Coordinated release. Statements from all 5 women plus my own story. Documented evidence of the restraining orders, the violations, the pattern of behavior. I pulled out the folder I'd prepared. 1 article won't do it. But 5? 6? A whole chorus of voices saying the same thing. He'll be destroyed professionally. He'll be exposed. What happens after that is up to the public, the industry, the people who've been protecting him. I met Alexei's eyes. This way, you don't have to carry his death. And he doesn't get to die a martyr. He has to live with everyone knowing exactly what he is. Alexei was quiet for a long moment. You've done remarkable work. I had good motivation. You had impossible odds and limited time. And you created a solution I wouldn't have considered. He stood, moving to stand beside me. I underestimated you. Most people do. I won't make that mistake again. He tilted my face up to his. The press conference is scheduled for day 7? Tomorrow afternoon. 3 o'clock. I've already coordinated with a journalist who's been wanting to write about Nathan for years. Then tonight we prepare. And tomorrow we end this. Without violence. Without violence. Kissed me softly. You were right, Iris. There was another way. I just couldn't see it. You were too close. Too focused on protection to consider exposure. And you were brave enough to look past the obvious solution to find a better one. His eyes held mine. I'm proud of you. The words hit me harder than I expected. When was the last time anyone had been proud of me? When was the last time I'd been proud of myself? Thank you for giving me the chance. Thank you for taking it. The night before the press conference, Nathan made his move that I was in my room reviewing final preparations when the power went out. Stay where you are. Alexei's voice came through the door immediately. Victor's checking the generators. This isn't a coincidence. No, it's not. I heard him moving, heard the click of a gun being readied. Stay away from the windows. My heart was pounding, but I forced myself to think clearly. Nathan had gotten past the building's security somehow. That meant he had inside help, someone who could disable the power, create a window of vulnerability. Alexei, the staff, already being secured. His voice was tight. But he's here. Somewhere. The backup lights flickered on, dim emergency red, casting everything in shadows, and then I heard it, footsteps, coming down the hallway toward my room. Iris. Nathan's voice, sing-song and terrible. I know you're in there. I know you can hear me. Stay back. Alexei's voice, cold as death. Or what? You'll shoot me? Go ahead. But you'll have to explain to the police why you murdered an unarmed man in your own home. I'll take my chances. Will you? Even knowing that the moment you pull that trigger, Iris becomes a suspect? Your protection becomes her prison? Nathan laughed. I've thought this through, Volkov. You can't win. I moved to the door despite every instinct screaming at me to stay hidden. Alexei stood in the hallway, gun raised, facing Nathan, who stood 10 feet away with his hands raised in mock surrender. Iris! Nathan's face lit up when he saw me. There you are. My beautiful dancer. I've missed those eyes. It's over, Nathan. My voice was steadier than I felt. Tomorrow, everyone will know what you are. Tomorrow. He laughed. There won't be a tomorrow. Not for your little press conference. I've already dealt with that. My blood ran cold. What did you do? Sophie Chen had an accident this evening. Nothing fatal, I'm not a monster, but she won't be speaking to anyone for a while. His smile was triumphant. And without her to corroborate your story, you're just a crazy ex-partner with a grudge. There are others who are already scattering. Amazing how quickly solidarity crumbles when people start receiving threatening phone calls. He stepped closer. Face it, Iris. You can't beat me. You've never been able to beat me. The only question is whether you accept that gracefully or make me prove it again. She doesn't have to beat you. Alexei's voice was ice. I do. And how do you plan to do that? Kill me? We've established that won't work. Have me arrested? For what? Visiting an old friend? Nathan spread his arms. I'm untouchable. No one is untouchable. I am. 'Cause I don't care about consequences. Because I'm willing to go further than anyone else. Nathan's eyes found mine. Iris understands. Don't you, darling? You've always understood what we are to each other. We're nothing to each other. We're everything. We've always been everything. He stepped closer and Alexei's gun tracked him. I've spent years proving it. Showing you that no matter where you go, no matter who you hide behind, I'll always find you. I'll always be there. That's not love. That's obsession. Love is obsession. The willingness to sacrifice everything, dignity, freedom, even your own life, for another person. His voice dropped to a whisper. I'd die for you, Iris. Would he? The question hung in the air, and then Alexei did something I didn't expect. He lowered his gun. Nathan Cross. His voice was calm, almost conversational. You've made a significant miscalculation. Have I? You assumed that violence was my only option. That without it I was powerless. Alexei smiled, cold, controlled, terrifying. But violence is expensive, messy. It draws attention and creates complications. So, so I've chosen a different approach. Alexei pulled out his phone. While you were monologuing, Victor was completing a transfer. Every document Iris compiled, every accusation, every settlement, every piece of evidence, has been sent to 47 different media outlets simultaneously. Nathan's face went pale. You're bluffing. I never bluff. Check your phone. Nathan's hands trembled as he pulled out his device. I watched his expression shift, from confidence to confusion to horror. No. No, this isn't. The story goes live in 6 hours. Every major outlet in the country will be running it by morning. Alexei stepped forward. You thought you could silence Sophie Chen. You were right, she won't be speaking tomorrow. But she already spoke. Gave her statement on video 3 days ago, along with every other woman you've terrorized. You set me up. I gave you enough rope to hang yourself. You did the rest. Alexei's smile was pure ice. By tomorrow morning, your name will be synonymous with predator. Your career will be finished. Your connections will evaporate. And you'll spend the rest of your life being recognized as exactly what you are. I'll deny everything, deny away. The evidence is overwhelming. Pattern is undeniable. And unlike your previous victims, Iris has resources now. Lawyers. Investigators. A very motivated benefactor who will ensure that every legal avenue is pursued to its fullest extent. Nathan stood frozen, his elaborate plan crumbling around him. This isn't over. Yes, it is. Alexei raised his gun again, not threatening, just present. You have a choice, Nathan. Leave now, peacefully, and face the consequences of your actions through legal channels. Or stay and face consequences of a different kind. You said you wouldn't. I said I'd try Iris's way first. Her way has succeeded. Alexei's eyes were death itself. But if you take one more step toward her ever, I'll forget I made that promise. Nathan looked at me. At Alexei. At the gun that promised exactly what would happen if he pushed further. Then, for the first time since I'd known him, he retreated. This isn't over, he said again, but his voice was hollow. It is for you. I stepped forward, standing beside Alexei. Goodbye, Nathan. He left, and I collapsed into Alexei's arms, finally allowing myself to believe it was truly over. The story broke at 6 a.m. I watched it unfold from Alexei's living room, curled on the couch with a cup of coffee that had long gone cold. Every major news outlet was running some version of the same headline. Celebrated choreographer accused by multiple women of harassment, stalking. It's everywhere. Vivian's voice came through the phone, breathless with disbelief. CNN, Fox, The Times, The Post, everyone's covering it. My phone hasn't stopped ringing. Anyone asking for comment? Everyone's asking for comment. But your statement is out there. Sophie's video is making the rounds. The other women are being contacted for follow-ups. She paused. You did it, Iris. You actually did it. We did it. All of us. But you started it. You found us. Gave us the courage to finally speak. Her voice cracked. I've been carrying this for 7 years. 7 years of wondering if I was crazy, if I'd imagined it, if anyone would ever believe me. And now everyone believes you. Now everyone knows. She laughed, a wet, relieved sound. Thank you, Iris. I know that sounds inadequate, but thank you. Thank me by living your life. By dancing again if that's what you want. By not letting him take anything else from you. I think I might. There's a company in San Francisco that's been trying to recruit me for years. Maybe it's time I said yes. Maybe it is. After we hung up, I sat in the silence, trying to process what had happened. For 2 years, Nathan had been my nightmare, ever present, inescapable, the shadow that darkened every corner of my life. And now, in the space of a single night, that shadow had been exposed to the light, that it didn't feel real. You should sleep. Alexei appeared in the doorway, looking as exhausted as I felt. He'd been up all night, coordinating with his team, ensuring that every detail of the media release went according to plan. I can't. My brain won't turn off. Then let me help. He crossed to the couch, sitting beside me and pulling me into his arms. Close your eyes. Focus on my heartbeat. Let everything else fade. That's surprisingly romantic for a crime lord. Former crime lord. I'm transitioning to legitimate business. His voice was dry. Apparently, exposure campaigns are more effective than violence. Who knew? I laughed despite myself. I tried to tell you. You did. I should have listened sooner. He pressed a kiss to my hair. How are you feeling? Really? I don't know. Relieved. Terrified. Empty. Full. I pressed my face against his chest. Is it really over? The immediate threat is neutralized. Nathan's career is destroyed. His reputation is in ruins. He'll face civil suits from multiple women, and depending on what the investigations uncover, possibly criminal charges as well. But he's still out there. He is. And he'll hate you for what happened. But hating you and being able to act on that hatred are different things. Alexei's arms tightened around me. He's lost his power base, his connections, his protective shield of respectability. If he tries anything now, there's no one left to help him. And if he doesn't care about consequences, if he decides revenge is worth any price, then I'll be here. Victor will be here. The security measures stay in place until I'm certain you're safe. He tilted my face up to his. I'm not letting you go, Iris. Not now. Not ever. That sounds like a commitment. It is. His eyes held mine. I know this started as an arrangement, a transaction. But somewhere along the way, it became something else. Something I wasn't prepared for and don't entirely understand. What do you mean? I mean that I love you. The words came out rough, almost reluctant. I've never said that to anyone. Never thought I would. But with you, Alexei, you don't have to say it back. I know this is fast. I know we've only known each other for, I love you too. He went still. What? I love you. I smiled through tears I hadn't realized were falling. I didn't plan to. Didn't expect to. A month ago, I was hiding in darkness, pretending to be blind to escape a monster. Now I'm in love with a different kind of dangerous man. One who saw through my deception and chose to protect me anyway. I'm not a good man, Iris. You're not a simple man. There's a difference. I touched his face. You've done terrible things. Made choices I don't want to examine too closely. But you also chose mercy when violence would have been easier. Chose exposure over murder. Chose to listen to me when you had every reason to ignore my naive idealism. You weren't naive. You were right. I was hopeful. That's not the same thing. Kissed him softly. I love you, Alexei Volkov. All of you. The ice and the fire. The darkness and the light. That's a lot to love. I've got time. He kissed me then, deep and desperate, like a man who'd been drowning and finally found air. When we separated, his eyes were bright with something I'd never seen there before, hope. Stay with me. His voice was rough. Not as an arrangement. Not as a transaction. Stay because you want to. Because this, whatever this is worth building. I was planning to. Even before you asked. Were you? Where else would I go? Back to pretending to be blind? Back to hiding in darkness? I shook my head. You gave me my life back, Alexei. My eyes. My identity. My future. I'm not walking away from that. Even knowing what I am, what I've done, especially knowing that. Because despite everything, you chose to be better. For me. I pressed my forehead to his. That's worth staying for. The aftermath unfolded over the following weeks. Nathan was formally charged with harassment and stalking, not for what he'd done to me, but for his attack on Margot and his threatening calls to Sophie. The civil suits piled up. His position at the dance company was terminated. His apartment was sold to cover legal fees. I watched his fall with a complicated mixture of satisfaction and sorrow. "You're too compassionate," Alexei observed one evening, finding me reading yet another article about Nathan's downfall. "He tried to destroy you. You should be celebrating." I am celebrating. In my own way. I set aside my phone. But I also remember who he used to be. Before the obsession consumed him. He was brilliant once. Talented. The kind of dancer who made audiences weep. That doesn't excuse what he became. No, it doesn't. But it makes it tragic. I leaned against him. Somewhere along the way, he lost the ability to distinguish between love and possession, between admiration and ownership. And now he's lost everything. Do you pity him? I pity the person he could have been. The artist he destroyed by becoming a monster. I looked up at Alexei. Promise me something. Anything. If I ever start to lose myself, if I ever become something I'm not, promise you'll stop me. Pull me back. Remind me who I was. You're not like him. I wasn't. But trauma changes people. Living in darkness changes people. I don't want to wake up one day and realize I've become something unrecognizable. Alexei was quiet for a moment. Then he took my hand, pressing a kiss to my palm. I promise. But I don't think you need to worry. Why not? 'Cause you have something Nathan never had. Self-awareness. The ability to see yourself clearly, including your flaws. He smiled slightly. That's why you survived. Why you found a way out that didn't involve destroying yourself or anyone else. I had help. We all need help sometimes. The difference is being willing to accept it. He pulled me closer. You accepted my help. Let me change who I was becoming. Made me better. You were already good. I was surviving. Like you said, there's a difference. His eyes held mine. You taught me that. 6 months later, I stood on stage at Lincoln Center, dressed in white, preparing for my first public performance since going into hiding. The audience was full, 500 people who'd come to see the return of Iris Monroe. Some were genuinely curious. Some were drawn by the scandal, wanting to see the woman who'd brought down Nathan Cross. And some, I could see them in the front row, were simply here because they loved dance. Alexei sat in a private box, watching with an expression I couldn't read from this distance. Victor was positioned near the exit, ever vigilant. Margot, fully recovered and beaming with pride, sat in the third row with Sophie and 3 of the other women who'd come forward to my family. The one I'd built from broken pieces and shared trauma. The music began. I danced, not the way I used to, technically perfect, emotionally controlled. This was something different. Raw. Vulnerable. A story told through movement about darkness and light, about hiding and being seen, about finding love in the most unexpected places. When the final note faded, there was silence, then applause. Thunderous, overwhelming, the sound of 500 people on their feet. I bowed, tears streaming down my face, feeling for the first time in years like I could finally see clearly. Alexei found me backstage, still in my costume, surrounded by flowers and congratulations. You were magnificent. He pulled me into his arms, not caring who was watching. I've never seen anything like it. I've never danced anything like it. I laughed through my tears. I didn't know I had that in me. I did. From the moment I saw you pretending to be blind, I knew there was a dancer underneath. Someone who understood the power of transformation. Is that why you helped me? Because you recognized a performer? I helped you because I could not help you. Because something about your strength, the way you'd rebuilt yourself from nothing, made it impossible to look away. Cupped my face. I told you once that you were a complication. I was wrong. Wrong how? You're not a complication. You're a revelation. Kissed me softly. You showed me that there's more to life than power and survival. That love isn't weakness, it's strength. That the people who see us at our worst and stay anyway are the ones worth keeping. That's very poetic for a crime lord. Former crime lord. His smile was warm. I've been legitimate for almost 6 months now. Dimitri's handling the transition beautifully. Does that make you a civilian? It makes me a man who's trying to be worthy of the woman he loves. His eyes held mine. Is it working? You've always been worthy. Kissed him back. You just needed someone to see it. And now we go home. Together. I took his hand. Where we belong. Margot intercepted us on the way out. That was beautiful, dear. She hugged me tightly, her arms still slightly stiff from the healing break. Your mother would have been so proud. You think so? I know so. She used to tell me stories about watching you dance when you were little. How you'd lose yourself in the music, become something more than human. Margot's eyes glistened. Tonight I finally saw what she meant. Thank you for being here. After everything I put you through, you put me through nothing. That monster put us both through hell. She patted my cheek. But we survived. That's what matters. We did survive. And now you're thriving. Both of you. She glanced at Alexei with a knowing smile. He's good for you. I can see it. He is. Then hold on to him. Men who look at women the way he looks at you, they're rare. She hugged me once more. Come for dinner this week. I'll make my famous pot roast. I wouldn't miss it. She shuffled away, and I watched her go with a heart full of gratitude. This woman who'd shown me kindness when I'd been invisible. Who'd been hurt because of her connection to me and forgiven me anyway. She's remarkable, Alexei observed. She is. She reminded me that there's still good in the world, even when I couldn't see it. That seems to be a theme with you. Reminding people of things they've forgotten. Is that a compliment? It's an observation. He pulled me closer. And a thank you. For reminding me too. 1 year. That's how long it took for everything to truly settle. 12 months of rebuilding, of healing, of learning to live in the light after years in darkness. 12 months of watching Nathan Cross's empire crumble. His reputation destroyed, his career ended, his freedom eventually taken when new evidence led to criminal charges that couldn't be dismissed or settled away. He was sentenced in March. 5 years for stalking and harassment. 7 more for witness intimidation and assault. The judge had been unmoved by his tearful apology, his claims of mental illness, his desperate attempts to paint himself as the victim. I didn't attend the sentencing. Didn't need to. It's over, Sophie texted me that afternoon. Really, truly over. And for the first time I believed it. The dance academy was Alexei's idea. You've spent years teaching private lessons, he said one evening, spreading blueprints across the dining table. Why not create something bigger? A place where dancers can train, heal, rebuild, the way you did. That would cost millions. I have millions. He shrugged. Consider it an investment in the future. Yours and theirs. You can't just keep throwing money at my dreams. Why not? Your dreams are worth investing in. He pulled me closer, pointing to the plans. Look, studios on the upper floors, a performance space on the ground level, counseling offices for dancers dealing with trauma or transition. A complete facility designed around the needs you understand better than anyone. You've really thought this through. I've been thinking about it for months, waiting for the right moment to bring it up. His eyes held mine. This isn't charity, Iris. It's partnership. You provide the vision, the expertise, the passion. I provide the resources. We build something together. Something that matters. Something that lasts. He kissed my forehead. What do you say? I looked at the blueprints, at the careful attention to detail, the thoughtful layout, the spaces designed for healing as much as training. This wasn't a gift. It was a declaration. A statement about the future he wanted us to build. Yes, I said. Let's do it. The Monroe Academy of Dance opened its doors in September. I'd insisted on keeping my name, not Volkov, not some generic corporate title. Monroe. The name I'd been born with, the name I'd hidden for 2 years, the name I'd finally reclaimed. It's a statement, I explained to the reporter interviewing me for the opening. About identity. About refusing to let your worst experiences define you. About taking back what was taken. And your partner, Mr. Volkov? How does he feel about your choice? He supports it completely. He understands that this academy isn't just about dance, it's about empowerment. About giving people the tools to rebuild themselves after trauma. Speaking of trauma, you've been remarkably open about your own experiences. The stalking, the years in hiding, the decision to pretend to be blind. Do you worry about the impact of that openness? I worried at first. Thought people would see me as weak or damaged. I smiled. But the opposite happened. Sharing my story gave others permission to share theirs. Showed them that survival isn't shameful, it's strength. And now? What's next for Iris Monroe? Now I dance. I teach. I build something that will outlast me. I looked around the studio, at the students stretching at the bar, at the sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows, at the life I'd created from the ashes of the one that had been destroyed. That's more than enough. The proposal came on a Tuesday, not a special Tuesday. Not an anniversary or a birthday or any of the moments you'd expect. Just an ordinary morning in October, with coffee brewing and rain pattering against the windows and Alexei watching me across the kitchen island like I was the most precious thing he'd ever seen. Marry me. The words came out without preamble. No build-up. No eloquent speech. Just 2 words that changed everything. What? Marry me. He moved around the island, taking my hands. I've been carrying a ring for 3 months, waiting for the perfect moment. But I've realized there is no perfect moment. There's just now. Just us. Alexei, I know I'm not what you planned. Not the safe, predictable partner you probably imagined ending up with. I come with baggage, a complicated past, dangerous connections, a family that operates in shades of gray. Cupped my face. But I also come with this absolute, unwavering devotion. The certainty that I will spend every day of my life protecting you, supporting you, loving you in ways I never knew I was capable of. You don't have to convince me. I'm not convincing you. I'm being honest. His eyes held mine. I've done terrible things, Iris. Made choices I'm not proud of. But loving you, choosing you, that's the one thing I've gotten completely right. The one decision I'll never regret. Alexei, I'm not asking you to forget who I was. Just to believe in who I'm becoming. He reached into his pocket, producing a ring that caught the gray morning light, a simple band with a diamond surrounded by smaller stones, elegant and timeless. Say yes. Build a life with me. Let me spend every day proving that you made the right choice when you let me see you. I looked at him, this man who'd found me in darkness and led me back to light. Who'd seen through my deception and chosen to protect me anyway. Who'd changed himself in ways I hadn't thought possible, all because I'd asked him to try. Yes. The word came out as a whisper. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you. I was crying now, tears streaming down my face. Yes, I'll build a life with you. Yes to all of it. He slid the ring onto my finger and it fit perfectly. Course it did. Alexei Volkov didn't do anything by half measures, then he kissed me, and the rain outside seemed to fade away, replaced by something warmer. Something brighter, something like home. We married in December, not at a grand cathedral or an exclusive venue, but at the Academy, in the main studio, surrounded by mirrors and bars and all the trappings of the world that had brought us together. The guest list was intimate. Victor, standing as best man with an expression that almost resembled joy. Sophie and Margot seated side by side, dabbing their eyes with tissues. The other women who'd come forward, forming a quiet sisterhood that had grown stronger over the months. Dmitri, Alexei's brother, watching with an expression of grudging approval, and me walking down the makeshift aisle in a dress that moved like water, feeling for the first time in my life like I was exactly where I belonged. "You're beautiful." Alexei's voice was rough as I reached him. "I've seen you perform in front of hundreds. Watched you face down threats without flinching. But this, right now, you're the most stunning thing I've ever seen. Flattery won't get you anywhere. I'm already where I want to be." He took my hands. "Right here. With you. Forever." The ceremony was simple. Vows we'd written ourselves, promises that spoke of darkness overcome and light discovered. When the officiant pronounced us married, Alexei kissed me like we were the only two people in the world, and in that moment we were. The reception spilled into the evening. Students from the academy performed pieces they'd choreographed themselves. Sophie danced a solo that made everyone cry. Even Victor was caught tapping his foot to the music, though he denied it vigorously afterward. "Happy?" Alexei asked during a rare quiet moment, finding me by the windows overlooking the city. Deliriously. Terrifyingly. Completely. Terrifyingly. The good things always scare me. I leaned against him. I keep waiting for something to go wrong, for the other shoe to drop. It might. Life isn't predictable, and we've both learned that the hard way. He wrapped his arms around me. But whatever happens, we face it together. That was the deal. I remember. Good. Because I plan to remind you of it every day for the rest of our lives. That sounds like a threat. It's a promise. Kissed my temple. "I love you, Mrs. Volkov. I love you too." I turned to face him. "Though I'm keeping Monroe professionally, the academy and all that, I wouldn't expect anything else. Iris Monroe is who you are, who you fought to become." His eyes softened. "I fell in love with that woman. I wouldn't change her for anything. Even the stubborn parts? Especially the stubborn parts. They're my favorite." I laughed, pulling him into a kiss that probably lasted too long for a room full of guests. But I didn't care. Let them watch. Let them see what happiness looked like after years of hiding. This was my life now, not darkness. Not deception. Not pretending to be something I wasn't, just this, love freely given and freely received. A future built on honesty instead of fear. A partner who saw me completely and chose to stay. That was enough. That was everything. 2 years later, I stood in the wings of the Metropolitan Opera House, watching the Academy's senior students perform their graduation showcase. They were magnificent, 20 young dancers who'd trained with us since the beginning, each one carrying a story of their own recovery from injury, escape from abuse, rebuilding after failure, all of them survivors, all of them stronger for what they'd overcome. "They're ready." Sophie appeared beside me, her eyes bright with pride. She joined the academy as co-director after her own return to the stage, bringing a perspective I couldn't have provided alone. "Look at them, Iris. Look at what we built. What we all built." I squeezed her hand. "Every person who came forward, every story shared, every wall broken down, this is the result. And it's just the beginning." She smiled. "Applications for next year's program are triple what we expected. We'll need to expand. Alexei's already looking at properties. He wants to open a second location in Los Angeles." "Of course he does." Sophie laughed. "That man would buy you the moon if you asked." "I know. It's one of his many irritating qualities. Irritating? You love it. I love him. The grand gestures are just a bonus. The music swelled and we fell silent, watching the final piece, an ensemble number I'd choreographed myself about transformation and renewal. The dancers moved like one organism, telling a story without words, showing the audience something they'd never forget. When the lights faded and the applause began, I felt Alexei's presence behind me before I saw him. Incredible. His voice was soft. You've created something extraordinary. We've created something extraordinary. I leaned back against him. I couldn't have done any of this without you. You could have. You would have. He wrapped his arms around me. I just made it easier. You made it possible. There's a difference. If you say so. He pressed a kiss to my hair. Ready to go home? Almost. I turned to face him. I have something to tell you first. What? I took his hand, placing it against my stomach. We're going to need a bigger home. For a moment, he just stared at me. Then comprehension dawned, followed by an expression I'd never seen on his face before. Pure, unguarded joy. You're pregnant. Yes. I laughed through tears. Surprise. He pulled me into his arms, lifting me off my feet, spinning me around while the backstage crew watched with bewildered amusement. A baby. His voice cracked. We're having a baby. We're having a baby. I pressed my forehead to his. I know it's unexpected. I know we hadn't planned. It's perfect. He set me down gently, his hands cradling my face. You're perfect. This is perfect. Everything we've built together, the academy, the life us, this is the next chapter. You're not scared. Terrified. He smiled. But the good things always scare us. Remember. I remember. Then we faced this like we've faced everything else. Kissed me softly. Together. I looked at him, this man who'd found me hiding in darkness, pretending to be something I wasn't. Who'd seen through every deception and loved what he found underneath. Who'd changed himself in ways neither of us had thought possible, all because I'd believed he could. Together, I agreed, and standing in the wings of the Metropolitan Opera House with applause thundering beyond the curtain and a future growing inside me, I finally understood what it meant to see clearly, not just with my eyes, with my heart. Thank you so much for joining me for this story. If you enjoyed She Faked Being Blind to Escape Her Stalker, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more thrilling stories. Your comments mean the world to me. Let me know what you thought and what kind of stories you'd like to see next. Until next time, keep reading and stay mysterious.